Hello everyone. Another day, another live stream, news summary from Moscow. Today is 17th of July. Now it's 11 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. And as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments. And hopefully you will find this episode informative and useful. Many thanks to all of you, dear friends, for joining this stream. And of course, many thanks to everybody who will either join later on or will watch video recording of this live stream sometime during the day or maybe tomorrow. Before I start, let me just once again mention that this media project is completely subscriber funded and only exists as long as I have your support. And therefore, if you find my work interesting and useful, if you like what you see and what you hear on my channels, in my videos, please consider to become a Patreon of the project or supporter. You can do it through several means. You can donate through PayPal or Boosty platforms. You can subscribe to my page on Patreon or the Boosty. When it comes to Patreon and Boosty, dear friends, I have on regular basis updates there, but as you probably noticed, unfortunately, I have somehow managed to catch virus in this hot weather, and therefore I was unable to make extra content this week for now. But maybe today. But on regular basis, on weekly basis, I have some extra content on Patreon and Boosty too. As my thank to all the members of community that are supporting through Patreon and Boosty with monthly subscriptions. Also, of course, one might support with a crypto. Very rare occasion when I have a donation with through crypto, but it is a possibility. And during the live streams, you can use super chat feature on Rumble, and there also become for donation, and there also become premium subscriber on Rumble, or you can gift premium subscription to other members of the community. So there are certain ways to support this project. That's all I want to say. And there are dear friends, that's been said. Let's go through some news now. And well, a lot to unpack, isn't it? A lot to unpack, from Ukrainian crisis and their escalation in the Middle East to some crazy statements that Trump is making in US, insulting his own base, his own supporters. Some craziness is going on out there in Washington. But let's go through news one by one. And first of all, this report from RIA Novosti that Russian air defense systems on duty intercepted 122 drones that were launched by Kyiv regime with the assistance of NATO to strike deep into Russian territory. I can give you some more specifics on that. So 43 drones were shot down in the Bryansk region, 38 drones in the Kursk region, 10 drones in Oryol region, also 6 drones each in Voronezh and Smolensk regions, 5 drones in Belgorod region. In Moscow region, Kaluga region, and Crimea, 3 drones each. In Leningrad and Lipetsk regions, 2 drones each and 1 drone over the Tula. So as you can see, the French geography of these long-range strikes deep into Russian territory is massive. 12 regions were targeted, I believe, last night, early hours of this morning, and air defense systems managed to neutralize 122 drones that were launched by enemy. But unfortunately, these drone attacks quite often cause casualties among civilians, and we have this report from RIA Novosti also that woman died in a drone attack in the Belgorod region. Yet another civilian casualty of this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky and NATO. Also, 3 teenagers were injured in Voronezh region as a result of drone attack of Ukrainian and NATO terrorists. This is preliminary information still. It's 11 in the morning, so during the day we might receive some update from state institutions, and if any additional information, of course, I will share later on my Telegram or Twitter X page, and possibly in the next update that I might have today. RIA Novosti is also reporting that temporary restrictions were lifted at the Pulkovo airport this morning. And by the way, probably you already noticed in my reporting that Kiev regime and their US militaries that are participating or assisting Kiev regime in terrorist attacks on Russia did listen to demand of Trump about strikes on St. Petersburg and Moscow. And last night, number of drones were intercepted in the Leningrad region. St. Petersburg, by the way, used to be called Leningrad, isn't it? But city itself has a new name now, St. Petersburg, historical name, but region around the northern capital still has Leningrad name. So it's a Leningrad region. So NATO was targeting, excuse me, NATO was targeting St. Petersburg and also Moscow. Number of drones were intercepted in this direction, and as a result of a security measure, at one point Pulkovo airport in St. Petersburg stopped operating, and restrictions were lifted sometime later. Vzгляд newspaper is also reporting, thank you. Vzгляд newspaper is also reporting that US-based group, by the way, allegedly ultra-right group, claimed the responsibility for the murder of SBU Colonel Voronich. Last week, I reported, and many other media outlets in alternative media reported about execution, basically, of the Ukrainian terrorist from this terrorist organization, SBU, that called the Security Service of Ukraine. Two Azerbaijani citizens allegedly were involved in this assassination of a Ukrainian colonel, terrorist, once again, by the way, terrorist and the mass murderer that was involved in the killing of people on Russian territory. And then these two Azerbaijani citizens, based on statements from Kiev regime, were assassinated by SBU forces. And there was claims from a number of officials from Kiev regime that it was Russia that was involved somehow in this assassination. I would not have any issues, by the way, if Russian security services will exterminate all their Ukrainian terrorists, right? Everybody in Kiev-controlled territory who directly or indirectly engaged in the terrorist attacks on Russia. I mean, it's that's what security services should do, actually. But questions still are there, right? And today, when I see this news, I was thinking I'm going to share this news with the community because it's quite a strange claim to make on part of this US-based group that it was them that take out this Ukrainian so-called colonel, right? Let me give you some details on that. So, murder of SBU Colonel Ivan Voronich in Kiev is connected with the activities of the ultra-right organization, the Base, which advocates radical methods of struggle. The Ukrainian branch of their far-right American organization, the Base, known also as a White Phoenix, has claimed responsibility for the murder of Ukrainian Security Service Colonel Ivan Voronich. Media reports the White Phoenix statement reads, "We, the White Phoenix organization, are proud of our comrades who are cleansing Ukraine of a dirty-blooded herd." That's what they're saying, by the way. Probably some psychopaths, right? According to media, representatives of the anti-terrorist structures, citing The Guardian, considered the statement of the White Phoenix to be credible. And Guardian is a British media outlet, right? The special services consider this incident as evidence of the organization's growing activity on the territory of Ukraine. And yet again, friends, according to statements from Kiev regime itself, two Azerbaijani nationals were involved, female and male, involved in assassination of this Ukrainian terrorist from SBU terrorist organization, right? And now this American organization, for whatever reason, is claiming to be involved in that. I don't know, maybe. What is your take, dear friends? I never heard before about such organization like BASE or White Phoenix or something. Are there white supremacists or something like that? Probably they are some sort of a fascist organization, right? Because in their statement, they claim that they are proud of their comrades who are cleansing Ukraine of the dirty-blooded horde. I mean, this kind of language is something that you expect from some fascists, right? So maybe there is some fascist organization in US that has its links in Ukraine, and for whatever reason decided to take out this Voronezh element. Maybe this organization was used by main intelligence directorate of defense, so-called defense ministry of Ukraine, that is led by Budanov, another terrorist. Because as we all know, dear friends, between SBU and the main intelligence directorate, there is a war going on, right? And there was many occasions when they were killing each other, literally, right? Assassinating each other and so on. There was even an attempt on Budanov's life from SBU, if you remember. And at some point, SBU even tried to take out Zaluzhny, right? And then London get involved, and eventually, London did talk Zaluzhny, former head of general staff in Kiev-controlled territory, into London as a so-called ambassador of Ukraine. So, very strange story, dear friends. I don't have strong opinion on this. Maybe it is a possibility that main intelligence directorate of so-called Ukraine used this radical group in US, the BASE or White Phoenix, to basically take out this colonel from their SBU, and then to divert attention towards, from possible involvement of the main intelligence director. I don't know. Nevertheless, I think interesting news worth a little bit of our attention. Also, Vzгляд newspaper is reporting that, well, when it comes to degeneracy of the Kiev regime, by the way, this news probably is one of the clearest demonstrations of that. Lvov mayor, by the way, Lvov is, of course, a Western Ukrainian city. It's a Polish city, actually, but located in modern Western Ukraine. So Lvov mayor proposes exchanging remains of the Soviet soldiers for Ukrainian POWs. In Lvov, work on examining the remains of the Soviet soldiers from the territory of the Hill of Glory has been completed. The number of people discovered was 355. Lvov mayor Andrei Sadavoy has proposed exchanging, that's another example, by the way, how brainwashed people are. Andrei Sadavoy, Russian name, Russian surname, and this is Ukrainian fascist. This criminal believes that he is not Russian. He lost completely roots through his actual history. He believes that he is somehow ethnic Ukrainian, ethnicity that was created by British aristocracy, and then German aristocracy also plays some role in that, right? To create this political Ukrainianism to harm Russia, right? But nevertheless, Andrei Sadavoy, how despicable this individual is, by the way. Russian name, Russian surname, and brainwashed on the level that he is a Ukrainian Nazi now and hates Russia and everything Russian. And it's beyond understanding of normal people, I guess, this kind of transformation. Nevertheless, so Mayor of Lvov proposed exchanging the remains of Soviet soldiers exhumed from the Hill of Glory from 4 captured Ukrainian soldiers. Their publication Strana reports. According to him, work on the memorial has been completed. A total of 355 remains have been discovered, which will then be reburied there at the Golokovsky Cemetery. We are ready to exchange all these remains for Ukrainian defenders, Sadavoy said on his Telegram channel. According to him, the metal garlands from the memorial and their eternal flame structure will be transferred to the territory of Terror Museum. Total despicable elements, by the way. They destroyed the entire memorial, by the way. They dig the graves of the fallen Soviet soldiers and they're destroying entire memorial. And that's their creatures, by the way, that Western countries are supporting. Is that not shameful, man? That this is the creatures that Western countries are actively supporting and they're glorifying in some sense. I have no words, man. This is total, absolutely despicable stuff is happening, right? And you know what? I don't know what Moscow will do, how Moscow will react on this. Of course, the Russian Foreign Ministry will condemn that memorial of the fallen Soviet heroes were destroyed and their graves were dug out. Every normal human being should condemn this tremendous crime, right? But and same time, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Moscow will say yes, we will, we will exchange POWs for the remains of the fallen Soviet heroes, and maybe Russia will exchange even 1-to-1 POWs on the remains of these 355 fallen Soviet heroes. It's a possibility, and these heroes will have a proper ceremony of the burial here in Russia. And probably that's exactly what is going to happen. But when it comes to this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, by the way, I'm telling you, level of their degeneration is beyond their any understanding whatsoever. It's just I don't know, man. These are like rabid animals, man. That's what Zelensky and his criminal associates are, man. I struggle to call them humans, for God's sake. They are digging graves of fallen heroes, destroying memorials of their fallen heroes. What normal human being will do that? No one. It's just how it is, right? To continue, dear friends, RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian military liberated their Noatska settlement in the DPR. Let me show you on the map this direction, dear friends. It's a southern-western flank of Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration. We can call it Donetsk sector too. So this is Noatska settlement, almost on the border with Dnipropetrovsk region, and basically to reach borderline, to liberate DPR completely in this direction and reach borderline with Dnipropetrovsk region. And there is only 2 settlements left. One is Zelyony Gai, and most likely battles for Zelyony Gai already has begun. And another one is Andreevka Klitsova. So I guess maybe a week or two, and both these settlements will be under full Russian control. And then simultaneously, by the way, in same time frame, Alexandrograd, this small village on the southern side, probably will be liberated also. And this pocket of resistance of the Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky in DPR will be finished off, right? Also, Russian troops conducting offensive, local-scale offensive operations in Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration area, in Konstantinovka direction, and I think it is highly likely. I mean, if you take a look at the map, dear friends, you can see this pocket, isn't it? this pocket of resistance of Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky in DPR, and I think it is a possibility. It is a possibility that before end of this summer, entire this area will be liberated by Russian forces. I'm no military expert, so therefore one should take my prediction on military developments with pinch or even mountain of salt. Yet again, I mean, absence of military experience is a significant stuff. So, and I never claimed to be military expert, but based on reports from many sources, my reading of the big picture is that we should expect something big in this area, by the way, and maybe before end of this summer, not just Pokrovsk, Mirnograd will be liberated, and Konstantinovka settlement, but also main strongholds of Kiev regime on the territory of the DPR, which is Kramatorsk-Slavyansk agglomeration. Let's see, by the way, Russian troops, I think, are locked and ready to achieve significant progress in this direction. Also, reports are coming in that Russian troops establish control over the Degtyarny settlement. This is right on the border, by the way, in the Kharkov region, right on the border with Russian territory. And Russian troops earlier liberated Milova settlement. I reported about it, and there are significant parts of surrounding forestry are under Russian control too right now. Also interesting reports coming from Volchansk, northern part of Kharkov region. Allegedly, Russian troops are established full control over their northern part of Volchansk, and this city is divided by Volchya River, isn't it? And reports are that entire northern part of city is under full Russian control now, and Russian troops are conducting operations on the left bank of this river. Interesting developments in this regard. And I guess that's about it for a short summary on military developments. Of course, if you are looking for more news, detailed report about battles on line of contact, I recommend military channels, by the way, for that. They are providing great volume of information on daily basis. And if by chance you don't know no military channels in alternative media, then under my videos in the description box, I have a recommendation list of the channels that I follow, and you will find there are at least several military channels. Let's continue with some more news now. And well, we can have a little break and laugh. A laugh is always good, isn't it, and always helpful, because well, official representative of State Department, by the way, went to make quite interesting statements yesterday while commenting on Trump, and better to listen to video than my explanation. I will give you this video, dear friends. Tell me what you will make of it in the comments.
Indication from your Russian counterparts that there's an interest in a diplomatic solution?
I would say that referring back to President Trump's remarks probably gives us the most immediate sense of whether or not he views things as being positive, or if he's happy with what Vladimir Putin has been doing. And of course, we've heard from him that he's not happy, is how I'll characterize it, that he's not impressed with the nature of how things have moved forward. And that's what we rely on. We hear, because he's a transparent man, the nature of his attitude about conversations and his assessment as the leader of the free world, of the entire world, effectively, that he's not happy. And I think his current actions of taking a path in order to provide Ukraine with more defensive weapons is an indication of that. But I've said before that while he is a diplomat and is forever optimistic about diplomacy, he's also a realist. And the world has seen, as Iran has seen.
Okay, that's enough, I guess. That's enough. Did you catch what she said? there, that Trump is no longer, it's no longer enough for Trump and his administration to call him a leader of the free world. And I really doubt collective West can be called the free world. I mean, let's be real here. But she called Trump a leader of the world. I mean, whole world. I mean, these people are truly delusional, extremely dangerous, and they're extremely delusional, right? And then she went to talk about Iran again. You know, in terms of what basically she did what Lindsey Graham did previously when on the topic of this 50-day ultimatum that Trump issued. And this is also extremely dangerous. These delusional elements maybe really are thinking that they can strike Moscow as they did strike Iran. These psychopaths may be really considering such an option, and dear friends, I don't know. I really hope there is at least a few adequate people in Trump's administration and in the Pentagon and the CIA, and they will stop these cycles. Otherwise, we should start counting days before end of this world. You know, if these idiots really go ahead with their military escalation with Russia, direct military escalation, then, well, too bad, right, for whole of humanity. But I mean, this video clearly demonstrates mental state of the U.S. administration. They clearly are, you know, they are losing it. They are losing it, man. These freaking psychos, right? But nevertheless, let's continue with some more news. RIA Novosti is reporting that Kremlin calls for pressure on Ukraine to hold the talks with Russia. Well, I mean, that's also quite interesting. The West must put pressure on Kyiv to hold their new round of talks with Moscow, said Presidential Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov. I give you a quote from his statement. "We are calling on everyone to do this. In this case, the main ones are the mediation efforts of the United States, President Trump and his team. Many statements have been made, many words about disappointment. Of course, we want to hope that pressure is being exerted on the Ukrainian side in a parallel with this." And okay, it's. I struggle to understand why this statement was needed to be made. Why Moscow, or representative of Kremlin in this case, is calling on the West or on US leadership to impose pressure on their proxy Kyiv regime, when they know perfectly well that they're not going to be heard, right? They're just not going to be heard. And also I struggle to understand why this word mediation or the mediator being used in regards to US. Is US really mediator? I mean, someone should ask Putin directly, does he really think that US is a mediator when thousands of Russian citizens have been killed with US weapons? I mean, Peskov, he's a press secretary of the Russian president, but you know, sometimes maybe he's saying something that his own personal opinion, I don't know, but someone should ask Putin directly, is he really thinks or considers US to be, or US leadership to be mediators? While due to their activity, many Russian citizens were killed due to criminal activity of their very same US leadership. How are they mediators, for God's sake? Why you are using this word, mediator? Peskov. I don't know, man. I mean, this man should be replaced. I'm telling you, man. I never understood why Peskov maintained his position as a press spokesman for this long, man. I don't get it, but you know, it is what it is. And if Peskov is using this word mediator, then why should we be surprised that RT, for example, is also referring to US in its articles as a mediator? And I already expressed my disappointment about it in quite a few occasions. It's strange, isn't it? Strange, man. Why Russian side is trying to trying too much to be polite towards the US leadership, man. What kind of game is that? I don't get it. But nevertheless, by the way, it is what it is. Also, RT is reporting that Trump catch surprised, by the way, many NATO allies with statements that they're gonna pay now for US weapons. So several NATO member states were not notified in advance that they would be asked to fund new armed deliveries to Ukraine under US President Donald Trump's latest proposal. Reuters has reported, citing European officials, and it's not just some countries were surprised, by the way, because they knew nothing about this new idea of Trump, but a number of European states actually are already refusing to have any part on this scheme, right? For example, France, Italy, Czech Republic, and Hungary, by the way. I mean, Hungary would not participate in this anyways, right? Because Hungary's position was very clear that they don't want to have any part in further escalation of this conflict, and that is they don't want to have any part in weapon supplies to Kyiv regime. But France, Italy, and Czech Republic, I mean, they are refusing to participate in that for their own reasons. They want their own weapons to be sent to Kyiv regime, and they want their military-industrial complex to receive money, not their American military-industrial complex, right? And reports are that probably another big one in Europe, Spain, will also refuse to take part in this new scheme of Trump. A number of other countries too. Eventually, Poland kind of not on the board too, another big one, let's say. And eventually we might see a situation when, with exception of UK, with exception of few Baltic states, especially Czechoslovakia ones, by the way, I mean, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, no one else would be on the board of this project of the Trump. And well, UK may fund this process. UK and US can force Germany to fund this process, but when it comes to these Chihuahuas in the Baltics, well, they might actually, allocate another $1,000 or $2,000 for additional support of Kyiv regime, and that's about it, I guess, right? So burden on this project, if it will even go ahead, will lay on the taxpayers of Germany and UK, most likely. That's how it's gonna play out. Vzglyad newspaper is also reporting that Hungary demands EU sanctions against Ukrainian military leaders. I reported many times about tense relationships between Budapest and the Kyiv regime for many reasons, by the way, and latest escalation is due to death of a Hungarian citizen who had also Ukrainian citizenship, who was killed by the so-called recruitment officers of the Kyiv regime while trying to kidnap him during the forced mobilization, right? And Hungary is extremely upset. Hungary's leadership probably had enough of the inhuman attitude of Kyiv regime towards ethnic Hungarians on Kyiv-controlled territory, and they are now openly demanding from European Union, Ukraine to be punished, Ukrainian military personnel to be punished for organizing a forced conscription that led to the death of an ethnic Hungarian in a Transcarpathian region, right? And even though I don't think Brussels will consider this demand of Hungary, but Hungarians will pay attention to it, right? And I think Budapest is already preparing its army to get engaged with the Ukrainian Nazis in military terms and to secure Transcarpathia, by the way. I think Hungarian leadership, Hungarian political leadership, military leadership is already working on the plans to secure lives of ethnic Hungarians in Transcarpathia that don't want to fight Russia, by the way, right? Don't want to fight for geopolitical agenda of their globalists and their terrorist regime of Zelensky. Rightfully so, right? Why should they fight and die for them, man? And therefore, I think soon we're gonna see even bigger escalation between Budapest and the Kiev regime, and the time will come when Hungarian militaries, Hungarian security services will go ahead and secure Transcarpathia region and their ethnic Hungarians, hundreds of thousands of ethnic Hungarians that are living there, by the way. Right, so topic that deserves attention for sure, because they're going to be far-reaching consequences of this escalation between the sides. TASS news agency is reporting that former Defense Minister of Russian Federation and current Secretary of the Security Council, Shoigu, quoted Suvorov and warned European countries against conflict with Russia. There are prospects for restoring contacts between Russia and European countries, since their EU leadership will not be able to silence the voices of the citizens for long. This was stated by the Secretary of the State of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, Sergei Shoigu, in an interview with the Kommersant. And I give you a few quotes. Of course, they are, he said, answering the question on the matter, will all see how the member of Europeans would doubt their correctness of Brussels' course towards their unconditional confrontation with Russia is growing. At the same time, such a sentiment are being suppressed in their harshest possible way. In this regard, the Secretary of the Security Council recalled the recent scandal surrounding the elections in Romania. However, the longer the EU ignores the interests of its own citizens and worsens their well-being under the pretext of a Russian threat, the more difficult it will be for them to drown out voices of those who seek a mutually beneficial cooperation with Russia and a peaceful coexistence with our country, Shoigu emphasized. The Security Council Secretary recalled that the Russian President Vladimir Putin, guided by this very key principle, put forward the concept for the formation of European security architecture in 2024. We are ready for equal dialogue with Europe, Shoigu said. It is up to the European capitals to decide what tactics they will choose, but I would like to recall the words of a great Russian commander, Suvorov. A Russian is distinguished by faith, loyalty, and reason. In vain will all of Europe move against Russia. In vain will all of Europe move against Russia. It will find Thermophile Leonidas and its own tomb there, said Shoigu. And you know what? In some sense, yes, when he is factual, I will agree with him. Yes, Russian president proposed work on a new security architecture, but globalist and globalist-controlled puppet regimes in Europe ignore this. But when Shoigu is a bit optimistic in regards to capabilities of the globalists and their regimes to suppress free voices in Europe, then, well, I have to disagree with Shoigu, because unfortunately, we don't really have much indicators to say that informed minority in Europe is in a position to wake up wider community. I don't think so. I don't think this is happening. Majority of society in Europe is brainwashed on such a scale that they, even if Western media began telling them truth, by the way, they wouldn't be able to digest it. That's how much they've been brainwashed, by the way, and zombified, basically, right? So, I mean, is there any point to talk to a zombie? To talk to any sense to a zombie? No, right? And that's the level of brainwashing of the majority of the Western societies, unfortunately and tragically, but that's how it is. So therefore, I'm definitely not as optimistic as Shoigu is when he's saying that, well, European regimes will struggle to, suppress voices far longer. I mean, they're not going to struggle, by the way. They already brainwashed majority so much so that now they are not even explaining no more nothing to nobody, right? They are doing whatever they want, and there is a next to non-exist next to non challenge up front of them, right? Very few people are challenging them, very few. And that's why this is the key reason, by the way, main reason why I'm saying that Europe is doomed, by the way. Give it to 20, 30 years, and Europe is going to become either loosely relevant part of Eurasian continent or completely irrelevant part of Eurasian continent. That's the only way for Europe, based on modern current realities, right? It is what it is. And Shoigu also stated that NATO remains a key threat to Russia's security. Let me give you a couple of some details on this statement. A key threat to Russia's national security still emanates from the North Atlantic Alliance. Russian Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu said in an interview with the Kommersant, in the very same interview, by the way, we should not forget that NATO still remains a key threat to Russia's national security. He stressed the Secretary of Russian Security Council drew attention to the fact that according to official data alone, the size of their alliance's military personnel equals over 4 million troops, and the bloc has over 50,000 tanks and armored fighting vehicles, more than 7,000 combat aircraft, and over 750 warships at its disposal. Mainly, by the way, this number comes from US and Turkey. European NATO member states are paper tigers, right? But nevertheless, combined numbers are very impressive, right? As Shoigu pointed out, the planned booster in military spending will only strengthen this potential. Besides, we should not forget that the alliance member states operate a cluster of about 350 military and civilian satellites that are being actively used against Russia in the Ukraine conflict. Moreover, this figure does not take into account thousands of Starlink satellites, the top Russian security official said, and obviously Russia have to do whatever is necessary to counter these hostile forces, right? To be in a position to deal with these hostile forces if necessary and when necessary. But you know what? Yet again, I have to disagree with Shoigu. Of course, NATO is a key threat, right? NATO is a key threat. Globalist control regimes are key threat, and the organizations that they control, and that is NATO too. But I will say major threat to Russia, to Russian society, to Russian security is not NATO. Major threat is corruption and corrupt officials. That's what I think, by the way. And I was saying so for years and since forever, basically, because corruption is a main threat to every country and every society. Corruption and corrupt officials. People are underestimating how damaging and how dangerous these elements are, by the way, corrupt officials, and how damaging corruption is for any state in this world and for any state institutions and eventually to any society, right? So therefore, I would like to see Russian officials be focused more on fight on corruption. Of course, NATO is a threat, no doubts, right? But we can deal with NATO. We can deal with NATO, by the way. And we will, if necessary. Corruption, and let's be real here, there is a fight against corruption in Russia, by the way, and fight is intensifying, right? But more needs to be done. Definitely more needs to be done, and who other than Shoigu himself should know how damaging corruption is, because after all, almost all of his deputies, when he was serving as defense minister, were arrested for some corruption charges, right? And there are many people might find it difficult to understand how come that Shoigu was not investigated or not charged, because yet again, I believe majority of his deputies were investigated, right? And some already received their sentences. Maybe Shoigu did not knew nothing. I mean, anything is possible. I'm not investigator, right? Maybe he did not knew nothing. But what about moral responsibility? You were defense minister, for God's sake, and your deputies were, engaged in a killing of Russia. Literally, that's what corruption is, by the way. Corrupt officials are killing Russian society and killing Russian state. That's what they do. And that's why I demand a death sentence for all corrupt officials. Because they are traitors. That's a treason of the people and cannot be forgiven or forgotten, right? So that penalty should be the sentence that all corrupt officials should receive, by the way, right? My personal opinion. But nevertheless, there is a moral responsibility too, isn't it? And I mean, okay, he left defense ministry. Okay, but he's serving as a secretary of the Security Council. I mean, really? And the Russian president Putin thinks that majority of society is okay with that. Maybe people are not really focused on this matter, but if objective social study is conducted, then I would not be surprised at all if vast majority would say that they don't want to see Shoigu on any official position whatsoever, even if he is not guilty in any corruption. I mean, let's say so, because you are not guilty until proven otherwise, right? But moral responsibility, man, this has to be practiced also, moral responsibility. If your deputies were engaged in some dodgy stuff and you missed it, then take a responsibility. Just retire and I don't know, go somewhere in Siberia and do some fishing or something, That's my take. So therefore, by the way, yes, NATO is threat for sure, but major threat to Russia's security and to Russian society is not NATO, by the way. Number one threat is the corruption and corrupt officials. That's how it is. That's how it is. Let's continue. And Middle East is in fire. Unfortunately, this is daily stuff now. And we have reports that Israel launched airstrikes on near the presidential palace in Damascus. Also, defense ministry's building was targeted. Let me give you some video of that, by the way. That's the video.
غارات عنيفة جدا. 4 صواريخ. 4 صواريخ. 4 صواريخ وائل. غارة عنيفة جدا. غارات عنيفة للغاية. غارات عنيفة للغاية وائل.
That's quite a strike, isn't it? There was massive explosions, by the way. Massive explosions. I mean, in the beginning of the video, you can see building was obliterated. And this was, many media outlets were actually recording from that area, including Al Jazeera, and that's an Israeli strike on Al Julani's or Ashara's defense ministry. And this was allegedly, or based on Israeli statements, this was a response to attacks of Damascus forces on a Druze community in southern Syria, right? And we have also this report that U.S. concerned about the Israeli strikes on Syria. Rubio said the United States is concerned about the Israeli strikes in Syria and is already working to resolve the issue with their interested parties. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated, and reports are, by the way, that Ashara's forces, HTC forces, basically, HTC terrorist groups are fleeing now Suwaida settlement province, Syria Suwaida province, and retreating. And allegedly, I mean, Damascus is claiming that, well, this is due to peace agreement that was, or ceasefire agreement that was reached with the local Druze community. In reality, HTC is fleeing because of the Israeli strikes, right? And we have this report that at least 356 people have been killed in armed clashes between the forces of the transitional government and the Druze community in Syria Suwaida province, according to Sky News, Arabia. And this morning, by the way, I saw some report that clashes still continue. Some units of HTC probably did retreat, some others did not, and clashes still continue. And if so, then I guess we might see today more strikes from Israel, because Israel has its eyes on southern Syria, by the way, right? Up to suburbs of Damascus, and even on Damascus, right? So they will use local minorities, Druze minorities, local Christians, or everybody. They will use everybody that they can as their proxies to basically, accelerate process of disintegration, full-scale disintegration of Syria, right? But before they will go ahead with the final straw, probably they will use HTC forces or Damascus regime to destabilize Lebanon. That's what might happen, because I think this is also Israeli plan to divide Lebanon, to let Ashara's forces to occupy northern Lebanon, where predominantly Sunni Muslims live, and Israel will, in that case, occupy the rest of their territory. And they will do there with their locals exactly what they are doing with their locals in the Gaza Strip or in the West Bank, which is genocide, by the way, ethnic cleansing and the genocide, right? And on that topic, we should not forget, by the way, that Israel continues to kill innocent people in the Gaza Strip. We have this report that more than 90 Palestinians were killed in Israeli strikes on the Gaza Strip, or died in a stampede at the humanitarian aid distribution site in the enclave in the past day. Al Jazeera reported, citing medics. So more than 90 people, by the way. Killed civilians we are talking about. And many of them being killed when they were approaching this so-called humanitarian place where they should get some food. And recently I reported, if you remember, that on those sites, by the way, where people should get food, Israeli forces and US POWs, US private military companies, PMCs, killed more than 700 people. On the places where humanitarian aid, food should be given to civilians, Israeli forces and American private military companies that are engaged in this process killed more than 700 people, and this number is growing on daily basis. And overall, dear friends, according to reports that I have seen, overall number of deaths in Gaza Strip could be way beyond 300,000. Lancet, world renowned medical journal Lancet, reported that according to their studies, about 200,000 people writer could be killed as a result of Israeli actions. And this report was published a number of many months ago, right? And since then, Israel never stopped, right? Israel continues to kill civilians, literally on a daily basis, right? So this number is significantly higher, even based on Lancet's reports. But there are other reports according to which death toll could be way higher than 300,000. And unfortunately, world or world community, so-called, is so non-existent, really, that this tiny fascist state that Israel is cannot be stopped, man. Shame on us, man. Shame on all of us, all of humanity, and our grandkids and their grandkids gonna be ashamed of us, for sure, man. They will say that all of us were cowards, man, because we did not stood up for innocent people in Gaza. And Israel not gonna stop, by the way. We don't stop Israel now. I mean humanity. If we don't stop this fascist state now, they will kill everybody in Gaza, or they will kill as much as they can in Gaza and force rest out of the region, and then they will continue to do so in the West Bank, which is mainly already occupied by Israel, right? And then they will do the same in Lebanon, by the way, and in every other place. And officials, by the way, in the Israeli regime are not even hiding what they want to do. But still, this so-called world community is such a coward that, I mean, literally nothing is done to stop those fascists, man, from killing innocent people. RT is reporting that, US, let's go to US now, and obviously worldwide, all the media outlets, by the way, paying attention to Trump's statements, because after all, he called the president of the United States, by the way, major economical and military powerhouse, right, in this world. And he's going out of his way, by the way, to insult his own supporters now. Something is wrong with him, and big time. So only stupid people care about Epstein files, according to Trump. So camp within the Republican Party who have called into question a recent report by the Department of the Justice and their FBI on the case of late financier Jeffrey Epstein. US president has slammed his supporters who have been left unconvinced by the DOJ's recent report that says no list of clients was found. RT messed up here with this report, because this sentence definitely lacks beginning. But nevertheless, I have video, by the way. I have video of Trump actually saying that everybody who is asking questions about Epstein files are stupid and the bad people. I mean, something is wrong with him, isn't it?
Intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your attorney general told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen?
It's not the attorney general. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters, and Comey before him, and it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier. That turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. and so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you see? He's calling his own base, by the way, or Republicans, and also independents, by the way, that actually help him to be elected as stupid people. And he also called them bad people, which is crazy, by the way. I wonder how society in US will react on this, because this is just, I mean, this is not okay, man. This is too bad. And as I said in my previous updates, this Epstein story may actually topple the Trump and even destroy the Republican Party, so much so that they're going to lose not just their midterm election, but their next presidential elections too. And therefore, if America First people want to hold on to power and have a chance to actually do something for American people, then in that case, I think they have to begin exercising possibility of removing Trump from office. It's a 25th Amendment or something that allows actually allows president to be removed from office if he's mentally not there, right? I believe there is such a legal possibility in US, and I think soon, by the way, prominent figures in Republican camp probably will start talking about it, because Trump is damaging, by the way. He discredited himself tremendously, obviously, with this absolutely insane approach to Epstein files. And I mean, many people have very serious doubts about him and his involvement in all the crimes, or maybe not all the crimes, but some of the crimes that was committed, maybe even by him and by some others in regards to this Epstein story. People legitimately have doubts now, because why he is not releasing the documents, why he and his administration is covering this story, why this cover-up is happening. If he is innocent, then why would he, as a president of US, act this poorly? Some might say, well, he's been blackmailed by Mossad or globalists or whomever, and that's why he's acting this way. I mean, okay, maybe he's blackmailed, by the way, but in either way, he is harming US big time. He is harming Institute of Presidency in US big time. He's a total disaster, by the way, at this point, right? And now he began insulting his own supporters, man, which is, something really, crazy. So, what is your take, dear friends? But this is not okay. This is nothing is okay when it comes to his statements and actions in regards to this whole topic, right? And this is too bad, man. And I think J.D. Vance really should begin preparing to lead the country there in United States, because Republicans don't really have a choice. Republicans don't really have a choice. They have to remove Trump from White House because he's compromised. Trump is compromised, right? And he has to be removed from office. And we will see soon, by the way, movements in that direction, because if this will not happen, if J.D. Vance will not take office, then midterm election is going to be a total disaster for Republicans, and they would not have even a slight chance to win next presidential elections. Party will just go down big time. And movement, by the way, I don't give a damn about parties, but many people, honest, good, hardworking people, by the way, in US, stand there behind this MAGA movement. They want their country back, and I feel sorry for them, man, because we are talking about ordinary people like us, right? So, of course, we will have sympathies to people like us. So it is what it is, man. Trump, either he is removed from office, and I think this is going to happen, or it's going to be massive disaster for MAGA movement, for America First movement, and for Republican Party, and for US in general, by the way, I will say. A few more news, dear friends, on this news segment. RT is reporting that Armenia hints it might leave Russia-led military alliance. Armenia will likely quit their Collective Security Treaty Organization, CSTO. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has stated Yerevan suspended its participation in the organization a year ago, claiming that it had failed to adequately support the country during its conflict with Azerbaijan, which ended with the forcible repatriation of Nagorno-Karabakh people from Nagorno-Karabakh region. And, well, dear friends, should anybody be surprised by the statement of Pashinyan? Of course not. I said many times before, right, that he's a puppet of the globalists, right? And he will move Armenia in the directions that would harm Armenia big time, but same time, he will move Armenia in a way that will destroy relationships with Russia. That's exactly what is happening, unfortunately, yet again. But this is, first of all, it's as Armenian people that have to deal with this situation. It's up to Armenian people to deal with this stuff. Pashinyan will withdraw country from CSTO. This is done deal. He will withdraw Armenia from Eurasian Economical Union. I have no doubts about it. He will withdraw Armenia from all their organizations that were built by former Soviet republics, right? Most likely. And under his leadership, Armenia will operate as a proxy of globalists. That's how it is. And therefore, I think it will, to me personally, it does make sense if Russia will make decision to withdraw Russian troops from Armenia, because it's only a matter of time. And Armenia will demand, Pashinyan and his people will demand Russian militaries to leave Armenia. And there is a significant presence of Russian militaries there, by the way, in Gyumri, for example, and also there are some other presence, right? And why should Moscow wait until Pashinyan will start playing around this topic too, and then brag about forcing Russian troops out, by the way? Let's be proactive. We know this is going to happen, so let's withdraw our troops, man. And when it comes to his claims, and not just his claims, Pashinyan, but claims of his inner circle that CSTO or Russia did not help during the conflict with Armenia, these people in the leadership of Armenia are so dishonest, by the way. Yerevan never declared war on Azerbaijan. Yerevan formally was not even engaged in a war, right? Yerevan never acknowledged independence of the Nagorno-Karabakh. So what should other countries do? What should allies of Armenia do if Armenia itself is not declaring war or not acknowledging its military engagement with the other countries? Moscow, Minsk, and other capitals in CSTO should do it for Yerevan? No, it does not work like that. Either you stand and fight, and in that case you can have a support, right? Or you can ask for support if you yourself stand and fight. But if you are not willing to fight, then why you expect someone else to do your fight, man? What kind of thought process is that? I don't know. It's crazy, man. But nevertheless, yes, I mean, we are observing processes that I predicted that will take place. And yes, it's only a matter of time. And Armenia will officially leave CSTO. And there are other organizations too, where Russia, that are created by former Soviet republics, including Russia. RIA Novosti is reporting that US President Donald Trump, in between insulting just about everybody, including his own supporters, made an announcement that he plans to impose tariffs on 150 countries. Insane, isn't it? It's what is happening, by the way, with US, man. So United States intends to introduce import duties of 10 to 15% on goods from 150 countries. US President Donald Trump said in an interview with Real America's Voice. We have a quote from him. We are going to publish one figure for the remaining almost 150 countries. We will just publish one figure, and it will be probably 10 or 15%. We have not decided yet. It is a big deal, he said. And okay, by the way, I mean, more tariffs from US. At this point, probably no one really understands what the hell is happening with the economical policies of the US, or any policies of the US, by the way. And therefore, I don't think anybody will go ahead and even try to explain what this is all about. What this is all about. And I mean, even Trump has no idea. So, I mean, how other people should explain anything. RT is also reporting that EU plan to remove frozen Russian money would be expropriation, according to Euroclear, by the way. Russian frozen assets in your jurisdiction are in Euroclear, this Belgium-based organization, right? So even they are calling, by the way, bureaucrats, European bureaucrats, not to steal Russian assets, not to move Russian assets from Euroclear to other fund, because that would be expropriation. But they're not going to be listened, by the way. They're not going to be listened. And Euroclear, by the way, cares about its reputation, because if Russian assets can be not just frozen, but also taken and, dealt anyway, these corrupt bureaucrats in Brussels want, then what about investments from other countries, man? They're going to pull out their investments, right? They're not going to risk it. So that's why Euroclear most likely is coming up with such statements that, don't do it, otherwise we're going to see it as expropriation or stealing, basically. So European Union plans to move frozen Russian sovereign assets into riskier investments would amount to expropriation. The Belgium-based settlement house Euroclear has warned. In an interview with the Financial Times published Wednesday, Euroclear chief executive Valérie Urbain said such a move could expose the EU's financial system to both legal and systemic risk. Since the escalation of the Ukraine conflict in 2022, the US and EU have frozen more than $300 billion in Russian state assets. In May, the EU approved the plan to channel profits from those assets to support Ukraine, while some member states have pushed for outright confiscation. Some 213 billion of their assets are held by Euroclear. Their securities depository is currently reinvesting proceeds from Russia's maturing assets, such as coupon payments and redemptions, primary to central banks. Their G7 is using those returns to support a 50 billion loan to Ukraine. So Europe is already stealing, by the way, Russian assets, right? They are saying, for now, they are acknowledging stealing of profits from Russian assets. But many experts, by the way, are predicting that most likely Brussels bureaucrats already had their dig into this main body of the assets, frozen assets, and they are stealing from there too, right? Probably this is true. Probably this is true, but nevertheless, even Euroclear, by the way, probably had enough of this nonsense, and they are issuing some warnings, but they're not going to be listened. By the way, Euroclear is finished. Euroclear is finished, and I think it's only a matter of time, and whomever has any investments there will be gone. Already, probably the process has begun, right? And eventually they will withdraw everything because they cannot be trusted. European economies, European financial and the banking system, or Western financial and the banking system cannot be trusted. It's factual, right? These systems are weaponized. So therefore, if you don't want your assets to be under the risk of being stolen constantly, literally constantly, then you should never invest in European financial and the banking system, in European economies or Western economies, for that matter. And I will end, by the way, this news segment on this quite cringe news, by the way, quite cringe news. Russian tourists banned from swimming in Egypt under threat of execution, according to media reports. And this is not a joke, by the way. So the Russian tourists who arrived there to a vacation at the Egyptian 5-star hotel were placed opposite of a military base and banned and have been banned from swimming in the sea, writes a short Telegram channel. They were forbidden to swim in the sea and threatened to shoot if anyone came near the beach. The Stella Di Mare Beach Hotel and the spa in the Sharm el-Sheikh resort is located next to a local military base, the statement said. The hotel is located 700 meters from their army unit. Vacationers also complained about the noise from their shooting range and the soldiers getting up early. Okay, I mean, that's quite a cringe story, isn't it? I can show you some videos, by the way, of that area. I believe I have a video. That's it, by the way. So let's watch it. And that's the area, by the way. There is clearly military base. Militaries are walking around, training or something, right? And look at the difference, by the way. There is a military camp there, and dozens of meters after, there is a greenery, and there are this 5-star hotel or something. And well, people should study better, by the way, where they are going to rest, because they might end up in this kind of unfortunate situation when military base is next to you. And I don't know why militaries are ban tourists to going to sea, by the way. What the hell? I mean, why they threaten to execute people? Tourists, I guess Egyptian leadership will take care of this situation. Probably Cairo will issue apologies for this unfortunate stuff. By the way, this is not the usual stuff. I mean, Egypt is one of the most popular tourist destinations, right? this is probably one-off situation, and will be resolved eventually. But tourists that had this negative experience, well, their holiday was destroyed, right? Their holiday was destroyed, and I don't think any apology will do much about it, right? But yet again, one should check more carefully whenever they are buying some tickets to some results. I mean, what the hell is going on there, and what is the previous experience of previous guests there, and is it safe or not, and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm never gonna say no, don't go to Egypt. By the way, Egypt is a jewel of if you love history, then I mean, Egypt has groundbreaking, marvels, isn't it? When it comes to architecture and so on, it's all about history, Egypt. So therefore, of course, one should go to Egypt and learn history and see with their own eyes all the greater buildings that still remain until now, and study more. But yes, I mean, more attention to be paid to nuances, by the way, because yes, sometimes things go not the way you wish, isn't it? And dear friends, I guess that's about it when it comes to excuse me, when it comes to news segment. And dear friends, let me start now community chat, and I will start community chat with super chat from Blorp. Let me open their file. So this is super chat from a Blorp on Rumble to Gonzalo Lira. Hi. Hail. Gonzalo Lira, we all remember Gonzalo Lira, isn't it, dear friends? Journalist, one of the leading figures, I will say, in alternative media, that was tortured and killed by the regime, by Zelensky's regime. Yeah, rest in peace, Gonzalo. And yesterday, dear friends, during the live stream, there was a donation on a Boosty from Alexander G, $10, right? So thank you, Blorp, for your $5 donation, and many thanks to Alexander G for $10 donations through Boosty yesterday. And also there is a $2 donations from Malina on a Boosty today during the stream, right? So thank you, dear friends, for your support. Is there? There is a donation on the PayPal. I will. Okay. And Christina, thank you very much for your donation, $62 donation. I guess it was 65, but her payment system took its funds. Thank you very much for your donation. And there is a comment from Christina. Hello, Levan. Thank you. My mother came from Konstantinovka, Love, and kind regards. Christina, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your donation, for your support. Konstantinovka soon gonna be liberated. Most likely, yet again, I'm no military expert, dear friends, but I would like to see Konstantinovka liberated before end of this summer. Let's say this way, because yet again, to do some military predictions, one needs to have military experience and knowledge, by the way, and not just a military experience as a service in army, but you have to have education, military education. You have to be officer, by the way, to understand what planning is and what what kind of logistics are behind all the operations. And it's a science, isn't it? It's a military operations are based on military science, so it's very serious stuff, obviously. But I think there is a probability that Constantinople will be liberated before end of this summer, and there are possibly Pokrovsk, Mirnograd agglomeration too. Maybe even Kramatorsk, Slavyansk. I mean, if Kiev regime's defense lines will collapse one after another, if domino effect will take place, then some very big developments might take place. I'm scrolling now, dear friends, and as always, let's take 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes for a community chat. I will react to your questions. Capital Q or capital letters will help to notice it faster. I see a question from Christopher Beaker. The impact of these drones is like a fragment, a grenade, or more like a mortar, or larger. It depends on the drones. It depends on the drones. If we are talking about FPV drones, then in that case, you can compare FPV drone. If they are dropping bomblets, then that's a anti-personnel mine, for example, to imagine power of their explosion. These dropped bomblets have approximately that power, based on what I have seen, by the way, in videos and so on. When it comes to FPV drones that are armed with this RPG-7 warhead, let's say, or whatever that is, right? In that case, there is two options, I believe. There is either fragmentation warhead or the cumulative warhead, when hot melted metal is going through the armor, right? Fragmentation one is more like a mortar, I guess. When it comes to bigger drones, when it comes to aircraft type drones, that's a different situation. They can carry many kilograms of their explosive materials. So it's like a aerial bomb. It's like more like an aerial bomb of about 30 to 50 kilograms, with 30 to 50 kilograms of explosives. Usually, I mean, this is yet again, I'm no military expert, but from observation, what I can see in the videos, that's my understanding of that. And there is yet again, there is different type of drones, right? Russian Giran drones, I mean, they are like, yet again, they're like aerial bombs. Maybe not as powerful as FAB 1500, for example, or not even like FAB 500, but still, I think Giran drone can carry up to 100 kilograms of explosive, which is big deal. Let's go through some other questions. Once again, dear friends, thank you very much for your attention, for joining this stream. Hopefully you did like news segment, or hopefully you find it informative. I'm scrolling now, dear friends, and looking for capital letters, capital Q or question mark. We have Don Zugar's commenter. I want my country, the USA, aka the land of the free and their home of the brave, to quit NATO and enter BRICS. Would Vladimir Putin approve this? Yes, I mean, it's not gonna happen, by the way, unfortunately. But if I mean, let's never say never, isn't it? If Trump will step down in next couple of months, and J.D. Vance will take office, and if he will clear the White House, and if he begin clearing the Washington from assets, from outside assets, right? Zionists, globalists, and so on. In that case, probably there will be realistic chance that U.S. citizens might actually reclaim their own country. I mean, am I too optimistic? I don't know. Maybe there is not even theoretical chance that Americans will manage to reclaim their country, but I think it's a possibility, right? And I mean, J.D. Vance, maybe he will lead U.S. in the right direction, and in that case, U.S. will transform step by step. It will take time, but U.S. eventually may actually transform into a republic again, as it should be, right? As it was created. And in that case, by the way, I see no reason why should not U.S. cooperate with BRICS. I mean, to join BRICS, that's a whole different story. Maybe, right? Under right leadership, under pro-American leadership, U.S. might actually, consider to join BRICS or at least to establish good strategical relationships. But it's not going to happen under the Trump, that's for sure, right? And it's not going to happen under the Democrats either, because Democrats are assets of the globalists, right? So, yes, theoretically, could be, by the way. I mean, let's be real here. There is no reason, objectively speaking, there is no reason if our takes are based on our national interests of Russia and US, for example, there is no reason why should these two countries be hostile to each other. I mean, Don Drugar, can you give me even a single reason why should our countries be hostile? But there is no such a reason, objective reason. We should not be hostile, right? But unfortunately, US is led by anybody but true patriots. And therefore, US being used as an enforcer, sometimes by Zionists, sometimes by globalists, sometimes by God knows whom, neocons and that kind of elements. And we are now in a situation when even American citizens, probably many of them at least, are wondering what the hell is happening with their own country and why. But never say never. There is such a phrase, isn't it? Who knows? This planet is big enough, by the way, for everybody, right? Maybe some things that there is 8 billion of us or 9 billion of us. I mean, all of humanity, by the way, if you take 1 square meter for each human, right? And they organize big gathering. You know how much territory will be needed? I don't know, man. Texas state in US will be enough to host such gathering, not just once, but I guess 10 times. So yes, maybe it sounds that, well, we are 10 or 9 or 8 billion. How many of us on the planet right now? 8 to 9 billion, right? It might sound a lot, but in reality, I mean, it's very few of us, by the way. And humanity is in quite a dangerous place. And I have to agree with a number of scientists that are pushing their idea that if we want humanity to, as a species, by the way, as a form of life, right? if we want to survive, then we have to be multiplanetary species, right? At least on initial stages of this civilizational growth, right? We are getting closer to approach first type of type 1 civilization, right? Based on Kardashev scale. And in next 100 to 150 years, probably we will be there, type 1 civilization. And to be in a safer place, we have to go multiplanetary. But even on our planet, by the way, there is a lot of place, right? So we should not be hostile, by the way. This planet is big enough for all of us, right? For everybody, for all countries, all peoples, for everybody, right? It's just freaking elites. It's just freaking elites, by the way, that constantly are looking for a fight. And which elites are, by the way, most aggressive? It's Western elites, right? Take a look at the last 300 to 500 years, by the way. I mean, what Western elites did, man. Colonized almost the entire planet and robbed dozens and dozens of peoples, by the way, left and right, as if it's nothing. And now representatives, those very same elites, are lecturing us about humanity, and dignity and this and that. I mean, come on, man. Dear friend, sorry if I miss your question. I'm just scrolling now on a StreamYard. There is a window where I should see all the comments from Rumble and YouTube. And there I'm scrolling, and there, when I see capital Q, I will stop. Oh, Alexander G is commenting. JD Vance is keeping in the background, strategically trying to not be solid by Trump or ready to take over. I mean, that's the only right approach. He should stay out of this craziness that is going on right now as much as he possibly can. He is a vice president, and he cannot go and criticize a president, right? But behind the closed doors, probably there is some discussions, and people should understand that this is total disaster what is happening right now with White House. Did you see face of the Lewitt, by the way, press secretary of the Trump, yesterday when Trump was talking about some stuff, including Epstein stuff? I mean, she was hurt, by the way, right? I don't think she thought that she would be in that situation when she have to defend the president who is saying so much crap, man, including about her too, about supporters, right? People that made it possible that formally representative of their America First movement end up in the White House. And now Trump is mocking them. I mean, this is not normal, man. This is not normal. So J.D. Vance should stay on the distance as much as he can, and he's a vice president, so eventually he will take over, because I don't think Trump gonna stay in office for next 3 years, by the way. I mean, he will destroy America, man. He will destroy Republican Party. He will destroy MAGA movement. He will destroy everything. He will destroy dreams of American people to reclaim their own country, right? So I don't think America First people can allow this to happen. So they should use whatever means they have. And there is this 25th article or 25th something in the Constitution that if president is unfit, then you can initiate some legislative processes that will remove president from office. And I think this is going to happen. And sooner the better for Americans, by the way. I think so. Oh, I see question. Yaroslav Pelichek is asking, could you compare JS10 with their SU35? I mean, these are two different type of planes, isn't it? J10s are more comparable. Let me show to our community planes that we are talking about. J10 is more comparable to F-16, I will say. Just a sec, dear friends. I will now make the pictures. And so J10, we all familiar with the Su-35, isn't it? It does look like Su-27. Let me show you J10, by the way. It does look more like a F-16 type of plane. And that means with the gabarites, which means that J10 is more comparable to F-16 in performance-wise. That's their plane, by the way, we are talking about. So this is Chinese J10, right? So it's a small plane. Su-35 is a massive plane, right? It's a big plane, big platform. And Su-35 we can compare with, let's say, F-15, latest updates of F-15. Both are big planes, and that means longer range, more powerful radar, more armor, more military equipment on them, right? When J10 is originally, by the way, I mean, if you trace back J10's history, it's a MiG-21. It's Soviet era. You might be surprised, but it's a Soviet era MiG-21 that was improved by Chinese engineers, and eventually it become completely, it changed its shape, right, completely, and now it more resembles to F-16, right? This air intaker maybe looks like a Eurofighter, but J10 has one engine. I believe it has one engine, and F-16 has one engine, right? And this is also important. It does gives you approximate characteristics of the plane. So J10, if you want to compare it with the Russian plane, is you can compare it with the MiG-29, and not even MiG-29. Latest variations of their J10 is more comparable to MiG-35, let's say, right? And I don't know which plane is more capable. I'm a bit skeptical when it comes to Chinese aircraft, by the way, in general, because China was experiencing some difficulties when it comes to engines, right? China was experiencing some difficulties when it comes to missiles too, right? And therefore, if you ask me, I mean, if MiG-35, let's say, also lightweight, light fighter. J10 is a light fighter, MiG-29 is a light fighter. So if you ask me between these two light fighters, which one will win air-to-air fight on a long range, medium range, and in a dogfight, I will say MiG-35. And if we take even latest generations of F-16, for example, and if we compare J10 and F-16, I will still say probably F-16 will will beat J10, right? But again, I'm no military expert, right? My opinion based on what I know, and I know very little because I'm not military expert, isn't it? So, I mean, lately there is a high interest towards J10 because of this Pakistani-India clashes, isn't it? And reports are that Pakistani J10s shut down French Rafales, right? Maybe this is true. But according to reports that I see, one of the scenarios how J10 managed to deal with Rafale is that Rafale was on its mission to conduct air-to-ground operation, right? So Rafale went in, launched its payload, and turned towards the base, right? And at that point, J10s detected this Rafale, which was going back to its base, by the way. It already conducted successful operation, and Rafale was flying back to its base, and at that point, it was detected by J10's number of medium-range missiles, we can call them long-range missiles maybe, were launched, and one of those missiles catch up with the Rafale. That's allegedly what happened in case of one Rafale plane, right? By the way, this history, if it's true, does not prove that J10 are better plane than Rafale. This history only proves that, air-to-air missiles, by the way, are very difficult to outrun. That's what it is, right? And it takes exceptional skills. I watch many channels. I'm subscribed on many channels, by the way, that are hosted by fighter pilots, right? And I listen to their programs, and from I learned from their reports is that it takes exceptional skills, by the way, to dodge the missiles, right? And it also depends on level of information that you have. If you just receive notifications that you've been targeted like 20 seconds before missile will hit you, I don't think there is much to do in that case, right? You can you can try to use decoys. You can try to maneuver in the air, but latest air-to-air missiles, by the way, are well capable to avoid decoys, and also well capable to do maneuvers, by the way, up to 9G maneuvers, right? Which is crazy. So therefore, that story of Rafale only proves that yes, it is tremendously difficult to dodge their missile when once you've been targeted, right? It's possible, and maybe you have heard, dear friends, a story of Russian Su-34 that was targeted by Free Patriot air batteries. Free Patriot missiles were launched towards a Russian Su-34 bomber, and their pilot, and Su-34 is obviously based on airframe of Su-27, so it's a very maneuverable plane, by the way. Although it's a frontline bomber, but it's still very maneuverable plane. And pilot did manage to dodge all three missiles and bring back the plane to the base, right? So it's doable, but it's difficult. Although Patriot missile is, of course, a ground-based, ground-to-air missile. It's an interceptor. But nevertheless, they're not any less capable than air-to-air missiles. Probably more capable. Definitely more capable, by the way, right? So yes, that's it. By the way, I cannot compare J10 to Su-35 because it's two different class of planes. By the way, Su-35 is better in every possible ways, right? Su-35, Russian Su-35 is better than J10 in every possible way. We can compare it to MiG-35s, okay, or modernized or MiG-29s. And even then, I will give I will say MiG-29s are better. Maybe because I'm from Russia, by the way, right? But that's my opinion, by the way. I don't really have a much. I don't really see Chinese planes, by the way, as to be top dogs in aerial fights. They need to prove themselves. That's how it is. They need to prove themselves first, right? So until then, I will continue to see Russian planes, American planes to be on top of the game, and of course we should not forget about French Rafales and the Swedish Saabs too, by the way, also capable planes. But when it comes which countries are on top of the game, I will say Russia and the US. And again, personal opinion, by the way, but Nidish Kumar is asking, Levan, did you got the news of Russian female tourist living in the forest in India for 15 years with kids? I see that report. Yes, Nidish. For 15 years, I was thinking it was just like lesser time, but 15 years, for God's sake. Wow. Yeah, I saw reports, by the way. I did not, investigate whole story, but yes, Russian media reported that Russian citizen female with the kids, by the way, were rescued, basically, I will say, from some cave. She became very religious, right? She became a Hinduist, right? And I don't know. She took some teachings of Hinduism, maybe, I don't know, to extreme levels, and went to live in a cave with her kids. I don't know what was going on there, but yes, I saw the story, and I saw pictures, by the way, when Indian policemen went to the area to basically, to rescue kids. Maybe this female itself did not think that kids were in danger or she was in danger, but I will say they've been rescued and probably will be deported to Russia. Probably, I don't know, but yes, I have heard that story. I don't know what her interpretation of Hinduism was, why she decided that she needs to live in cave with the kids. But in media, what I noticed was that she was kind of justifying it is that she's just too religious. I don't know, man. Extremes in no religion is good, man. We should always keep it real, and once you go into some extremes, then wow. You might actually lose yourself, right? And dear friends, Smoky Sally is asking, did you already respond to my question about the Germans' preparations to take Kaliningrad? No, Smoky Sally. I did not see your question, but I see it now. So, unfortunately, Germany, which is a basically occupied country, right, is run by globalist puppets. And in the globalist movement, main force is British aristocracy, right? British royal family, British aristocracy. And therefore, it's not Germany that is preparing for military escalation with Russia. It's globalists that are preparing for escalation for military escalation with Russia, and London is pushing towards this big time, and London will sacrifice literally every country in continental Europe to somehow weaken Russia, right? And so, yes, I mean, Russian media is reporting about quite often about militarization of the Germany, about statements, harsh statements that Germany is making. After all, there was reports, isn't it, about Typhoon launchers that are for Tomahawk missiles, for example. And Germany, basically on behalf of the regime, allegedly was asking US for these launchers, Typhoon launchers that can launch a missile up to 2,000 kilometers, right? So yes, I mean we have enough information here in Russia to be serious about risks that that globalists and globalist controlled regimes in Europe are generating, including risk of direct clashes. And well, if it comes to these direct clashes, by the way, I think Russia will have no option but to really take some very decisive action against all the attacker countries, and also to secure Kaliningrad. To secure Kaliningrad, I think Moscow will consider to establish control over the Suwalki corridor that will link Belarus to Kaliningrad region. Suwalki Gap, by the way, is in Poland right now. So if globalists will attack Russia, they're going to use Poland, right? They're going to use not just Germany, they're going to use Poland, they're going to use Finland or Sweden, some others, right? Baltic states, but we don't count those Chihuahuas. And so there will be a risk, by the way, that let me show you on the map that if it comes to direct clashes, between NATO countries and Russia, and if there will be serious risk to Kaliningrad region, which is, I mean, you can see Kaliningrad region, by the way, right now on your map. On one side, it's Poland. On other side, on southwestern side is Poland. On northeastern side is Lithuania, and there is no direct link between Russia or Russian ally Belarus and the Kaliningrad region. So if it comes to direct clashes between NATO and Russia in the Baltic region, then I think Moscow will have no option but to establish a land bridge to Kaliningrad region. And this could be done by two ways: either through Suwalki Gap, which is on the Polish territory, or same can be done through Lithuanian territory. But Russia will just simply have no option once NATO will escalate towards that level of direct clashes between the sides. Moscow will simply have no option but to secure Russian citizens that live in Kaliningrad region, and that means that land bridge has to be established, because in case of military hostilities, obviously Baltic Sea would not be safe for navigation, right? And in that case, yes, land bridge will be created. So we are paying attention. We are paying attention to all the developments that is happening in Europe, and I want to believe that Moscow is preparing for all possible scenarios. So, and dear friends, Smoky Sally, sorry if I did not notice your question earlier, and sorry, dear friends, to everybody who if I miss your question. As I said, I'm scrolling. Sometimes that's how eyes work, isn't it? You just kind of scroll and miss the question. Also, I see Arsena Ecletico is asking, has the FSB made any official statement regarding the SBU colonel that was neutralized? No, I did not see any statement from FSB, by the way. All I see is a claim of that American organization that it was them that took him out. Yet again, I don't really know what was going on. I'm more inclined to believe that there is some internal conflict on a Q-control territory, and their assets of their SBU and assets of the main intelligence directorate, they are just fighting each other, right? And using all means. Most likely that's what is happening, but if somehow Russian security services were directly or indirectly engaged to neutralize that terrorist that was involved in the killing of Russian citizens, then great, I have no issue with that whatsoever. But I'm still more inclined to believe that it was some internal confrontation among Kiev regime's forces. Question from Tom. Do you see Trump escalating their war against Russia to take Epstein out of their news? Yes, I was thinking about this too. And I believe during their recent interview with Alex Christoforou, we spoke about exactly such possibility that Washington will try to divert attention from Epstein's story. And that's exactly what they are trying to do. And maybe this escalation with Russia from Trump is this attempt to escalate. But these are different topics, by the way, that people are paying attention no matter what, right? I don't think it is even possible, no matter how powerful propaganda is in US, I don't think it is possible to just shut down the conversation around their Epstein case. I mean, people want answers, right? People want answers, and now when Trump is escalating so much so that he's insulting his own supporters, well, those supporters definitely not gonna stop, isn't it? They will escalate too now. So, dear friends, it's more than like 2 hours already since the beginning of the live stream. So if I may, I will end the live stream now. Thank you all for your attention, for your questions, for your comments, for your support. Many thanks to everybody who donated to the project. Truly grateful. Have a wonderful day and take care. Bye for now.